Rock bottom. The Cuse bottom's out, heading into the Big East Tournament and Selection Sunday. Welcome to another edition of the Upstate Orange Podcast. It's Sunday, March 10th, 2013, and we're coming at you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. I'm Jim Sinacropi, and I'm joined in studio by my co-host Matt Verkey.
What's going on, Jim?
And via telephone in Cincinnati, welcome back, Brad Connor.
Good weekend, fellas.
Yeah, we're here on a Sunday night. That's a little something different. Because of the schedule of the upcoming postseason games, it makes sense to do this on a Sunday night as opposed to Thursday. You know what I mean? Because for the next couple weeks, Syracuse is going to be playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So tonight we're going to preview the Big East Tournament, set to get underway in Madison Square Garden this week. What's at stake for the Orange heading into Selection Sunday? Apparently Syracuse played a game on Saturday in Washington, D.C. I don't know much about that, but maybe Verk and Brad can fill us in. We'll still have some great Orange trivia and much, much more. It's Sunday night, not Thursday, and this Upstate Orange podcast is brought to you by Midday Maris and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. If you've been injured and deserve compensation, call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. And also by Generations Bank. Generations of service for over 140 years. Visit them online at mygenbank.com and check out their new mobile banking app. And Newark Pilots Baseball season ticket packages now available for the 2013 season at Colburn Park. Visit newarkpilots.com for more information. So, guys, with Saturday's embarrassing loss to Georgetown, Syracuse's losers of 4 of their last 5, 7 of their last 12, 23-8 overall, heading into the Big East Tournament. And, Brad, you've been away. You missed last week's podcast, so I'm going to let you start out. What the hell's going on here?
Well, you mentioned a game Saturday. I'm not sure what you're talking about because I didn't remember seeing a game Saturday.
Yeah, we could all choose to ignore it. Which is kind of what I've done since the buzzer ended. But 39 points in one game, lowest point output for the Orange since 1962. Lose to Georgetown twice in the same season. We're in the same bracket with them in the tournament, Big East tournament brackets too, which we could line up against them a third time. But Brandon Trish supposed.
I thought about the fact that there was a chance, and I was tracking it, that they might not have been able to outscore James Sutherland in the Arkansas game for an entire 40 minutes on Saturday afternoon. They finally managed to get it up to 39, but it was touch and go there for a while.
It was the worst of the worst. You can't get any worse than that. I mean, this team is about to hit rock bottom. When you score 39 points in the final Big East game against Georgetown, you can't help but question this team's heart. When you score 39 points, you can't question a team's heart for, playing the full 40 minutes. I don't know, Verk. What do you think? 39 points, this team have any heart at all?
It didn't appear that way Saturday afternoon. Syracuse, this is a team that we pretty much had ranked in the top 10 or our top 5, for 3/4 of the season here. Now they're not in my top 30. It's, the way they're playing right now, I don't understand it, how, a lot of it has to do, Trish just looks miserable. He's kind of like aiming the ball, it seems like, when he's shooting. I mean, he had some wide open shots the other day, and they weren't even close. Carter Williams seems to have kind of digressed. It's kind of the same thing we've talked about the last couple of weeks here, but he's leaving his feet. He's throwing the ball away. Trevor Cooney can't shoot, and Sutherland can't throw it in the ocean anymore.
0 for 8 on Saturday.
And they can't shoot the ball, and they have no inside presence, so that's why it's so hard to score. They still don't have the big guy to throw it into. They've never established any kind of post game. They're relying on Trish and Carter Williams so much to break the defense down, and that's not working. I think it's time to change something up, or go with a new approach. I know he started Sutherland on Saturday, which was, I don't know if he's trying to just spark the offense early by having him in there, but ever since Sutherland's come back, Grant's just disappeared, and that's been a big loss for him. He hasn't played nearly as well as he was. They just look like a team that's lost right now. The pieces are still there, and they're still obviously talented, but the way things are going is just disheartening at this point.
Comes down to making shots. To me,
they just become a very easy team to defend. Vert hit on a lot of those points. I mean, it's because they don't have any inside presence. And to be fair, Christmas I thought had a decent game on Saturday, but they just it's easy to overplay the guards and just assume that when Keita's in there, he's not getting the ball, and certainly Coleman's not offering anything. Christmas, okay, he had a nice couple of series, but if you shut down Carter Williams, they're letting Trish shoot now, and I don't blame him because he's. Yeah, I mean this is what we've always kind of feared with him is that his head would be in a place it shouldn't be, and we've seen it from time to time. But he's trying way too hard, and Verk, you said it. He's sort of, you can see it with his body language. He's aiming the ball. He's not. I think he realizes this is his last go, and he's trying way too hard to get it back because he realizes there's emergency here, and that's probably the worst thing for a guy like him.
I suppose, but how can it be that bad? What he is now like 1 for 33 in his last 5 games from beyond the arc. I mean, how can it be that bad?
You've seen it, when he gets in a rhythm, he's catch and shoot. He's in the right spot. His form is just different when he's on. It's just there's less fundamental kind of form. It's just it's not a classic kind of jump shot like you'd see Sutherland. It never deviates. But with Trish, it's just when it's just a body language thing that just affects his whole psyche and the way he approaches his shot. I think the way he steps into it.
Yeah, he obviously looks awful lately, and I think this goes back to was this a team that kind of just peaked early? They overachieved early, maybe they're just not that good. We talked about it. They lost 4 NBA players from last year's team. That's obviously a lot to replace, and obviously we had high hopes for this team, and they had some huge wins early, and they were scoring. I just don't understand. At one point, they're averaging 80 points a game. Through 15 to 20 games. Now over the last 10 games, they're averaging 50 points a game. It's really unthinkable. And even in the DePaul, they won the game, but they still shot terrible.
Yeah, it's hard to make sense of because these are good shooters before, and it's one thing to have off shooting. It's another thing to just not be able to make anything. If against that Marquette game, if they just make a couple more threes instead of miss them, they win the game. And the same can be said for a lot of Syracuse losses. Certainly not last Saturday, though. Not yesterday.
And I think Marquette, Louisville, those weren't terrible losses. They were in the game. The 2 Georgetown game were really they just kind of were out of it and they couldn't score at all. And none of the games they played good offensively, but
they're there with these top teams.
And I think now we talked about how good their defense has been all year, but I think their offense is starting to affect their defense because they had Georgetown had a lot of wide open shots there in the second half, and they knocked them down.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year that Carter Williams doesn't get out on the shooters for the other team. I mean, I don't understand it. With his height advantage, that should be an advantage for us, but he does not get out at shooters or the corners of that zone. And if you can test some of those shots against Starks and some of the other shooters for Georgetown or any of these teams, maybe that sparks a fast break going the other way. And if he's out contesting the shot near the top of the key, he's in great position to start a fast break too. But, Brad, can Syracuse suddenly start making shots again?
Time's running out. I don't know. I don't think this has ever been a great shooting team, really. Sutherland had a great game against Arkansas, but I don't remember him really tearing things up in any other game. He had a couple of games where he had 20, but he never really had that breakout game like he had against Arkansas.
Nothing consistent either.
A couple of nice games.
And
Williams, he can't shoot it. I mean, as much as we'd like to see him, I think the most he's probably had in a game is maybe 3. And Cooney, it's worth. I mean, there's no chance on him. We're seeing anything out of him this season. I don't see it. They're just not a good shooting team.
And with Sutherland, something that throughout his career he's kind of feasted early in the season. You think, all right, this is the year he's going to do good, and even this year he looked great early on, and come Big East play, nothing. And at this point, I don't know if we're better off just putting Grant in. I mean, he's a better rebounder, he's a better defender, and but he seems to have lost some confidence too. He had that wide open 12-footer, and he tried to dribble and he traveled the other day, and just not seeing the minutes, and not really playing that great when he's in there.
Well, it's the same thing with Boeheim every year too. A guy like Grant, we also want to see him on the court, and it seems like Boeheim has him on a short leash. So now he's a little more intimidated when he's on the court to make a mistake and get pulled. It's not quite the same as with Fab Melo or Rakeem Christmas last year, but it's a
and the problem is for Trish and Carter Williams and Fair and Sutherland. I guess with Sutherland and Fair, you got Jeremy Grant there, but with Trish and Carter Williams, there's no other options. You can't put Trevor Cooney is not an option to put in there when Trish and Carter Williams are playing bad, obviously, because Carter Williams is playing as bad as he could play in the first half of that Georgetown game, and what are you gonna do? Take him out and put Trish at the point, who's just as bad, and bring in Cooney, who can't make an open jump shot. There's really not a lot to go to, and just their. I thought they were a little bit more active at the start of the game and trying to get to the basket a little bit more, but then, that slowly faded away. And, Sutherland just shoots every time he touches the ball now. And
they don't respond well when the other team hits them.
No.
Other team hits them with an 8-0 run, and they put their shoulders down, and they try to do maybe a little too much or try to get it all back at one possession. And it's just not a sign of a mentally tough team. And I think we've been spoiled over the last few years with not and how great those Syracuse teams were, with some bad luck in the postseason in terms of Fab Melo and Rinzi Onuaku. But those were obviously great Syracuse teams, mentally tough, and sometimes I think you take it for granted because what's happening right now reminds me of Deshaun Williams and Preston Shumpert.
Yeah, and a lot of it, you watch Michael Carter Williams, he's getting picked a couple times a game now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right, first play of the game against Georgetown.
Yeah, and that's just a lack of concentration. Like I was watching the Michigan game today. Trey Burke, to me, is 100 times better than Michael Carter Williams. The way he handles the ball, he gets to the hole, he finds open teammates. I know Carter Williams has all those assists and stuff, but it just seems like, I don't know. He just doesn't seem to be there. I know he had 17 points and probably played the best of anybody on Saturday, but the turnovers. I know he had at least 4 in the first half. So
tons of talent. A lot of the things that we see are probably mental in terms of a lack of focus, bad decision making. And let me ask you this, Brad: is Michael Carter Williams still, a top 15 NBA draft pick next year?
Yes, by potential. NBA draft on potential. As much as I think that's why we all kind of prefer the college game, because the NBA just is a different game, and they're tantalized by what they see in terms of his height, his skill set. But I don't know. If I was an NBA team, I wouldn't go that route, especially if I was drafting early and needed somebody immediately.
The other thing, just looking at this box score, you tell me we're going to hold Otto Porter to 10 points
and lose
by 22.
Yeah,
right. That after watching Georgetown play at Syracuse, I was like, wow, we shut Otto Porter down. We would definitely win, and we let we let all these other guys knock down threes on us. So
I think that shows Georgetown's. They're a stronger team. We were probably giving them credit for. I mean, we all recognized what a good defensive team they were, and clearly that we saw that on Saturday. But they do have quite a few weapons. I mean, they're not. They're not going to put 3 guys on an all Big East team by any means, but they've got a lot of complementary pieces that I think fit together pretty well.
Yeah, I think they have a shot at number 1 seed if they can win the Big East tournament and say Kansas loses in their tournament.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But Baylor killed Kansas. So I don't.
Yeah.
I look at a team like Georgetown, as well as they've played in the Big East with that difficult schedule. Lost to Villanova hurts them a little bit, but they should be talked about as one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country, and they're just not.
Yeah, they don't really meet, I guess, the eye test. They're not spectacular. Like, you see Kansas with, Ben McLemore, doing 360 dunks, and but Georgetown, they're kind of like that blue collar team.
Who they play early on this year, and they barely lost.
Indiana.
Yeah, so they lost by 1 in overtime against Indiana, and so you imagine if they had pulled that game out, it might be a different story. But Then again, everybody's beating Indiana nowadays.
Fortunate to them, they played that game, the preseason game was it on a ship or was it outside or something? They canceled at halftime. They were playing either Ohio State or Florida, one or the other.
Florida against Georgetown.
Yep.
And had they won that game at that time, that might have put them in a lot more radars for the course of the season. Instead, they sort of forgot that it happened.
Yeah, because it didn't.
Well, Syracuse won on a ship, and people pretended that didn't happen too.
That's true. Which when you look at our resume, comes Selection Sunday. Which, by the way, next week, Selection Sunday edition of the Upstate Orange podcast live at 9 here on Finger Lakes One TV, where we're going to have a little roundtable of experts. I guess we can call them experts, but we're going to analyze the brackets. Just a couple hours after they come out, so you won't want to miss that. But first, in front of me right now, I have some brackets, Big East tournament brackets. And, look at this. We're a 5 seed, and we're playing Wednesday at 2 o'clock. If we win, we get to play Thursday at 2 o'clock.
Sweet.
Yeah, I can't stand
it. Up with a lot of day games. In recent history, it seems like I always have to take off work to watch these guys.
Well, not only that, but we don't play good in noon games and early games traditionally or, statistically. And we have 2 of them here. We're going to play Seton Hall South Florida winner Wednesday at 2, and got to feel pretty confident about our chance of advancing there, but not too confident with a team that's lost 4 of their last 5. We got Pittsburgh waiting for us on Wednesday at 2, and we're going to get killed. Seriously, do you if you were filling this out for $1,000 prize, would you have Syracuse advancing past Pittsburgh in the second round?
No.
How about you, Brad?
Not the way they're playing. The one thing that I liked about drawing Pitt, is the fact that while Syracuse lost to them, it was in their arena. It was, that's a tough place to play. On a neutral court, and some would argue the Garden's even neutral really when Syracuse is there. It's a more favorable draw than anybody else in the top 6, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's
this team can't score more than 50 points. I don't like them beating anybody at this point.
Yeah, Pitt seems to have Syracuse's number over the last couple of years, and Syracuse really struggles to score the ball against Pitt. Over the last couple of years as well. But I shouldn't say I give. Obviously, we'll see how that game goes Wednesday, and maybe they can start hitting some shots. But I'm concerned about Wednesday's game. If who knows what can happen in that game.
Well, when we talk about mental toughness and you talk about a team that literally likes obviously looks forward to the big games, that's why they came to Syracuse, and they're going to be playing somewhat subdued Madison Square Garden in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon. So we're going to see right there. That'll be a good indicator. And I guess since they are playing Pittsburgh, you're going to see man. They're not going to play zone, I wouldn't think.
Who?
Pittsburgh.
Pitt?
Not too.
I don't think it matters what they play. I mean, everybody's been, they can't score against man or zone lately. So I know Syracuse has seen a lot of zone lately, and I wouldn't be surprised if Pitt played a little bit of zone, but they're traditionally man-to-man. So,
and then looking ahead, if we should advance to Friday, it looks like we'd face Georgetown again, either Cincinnati or Providence, which, by the way, Cincinnati-Providence playing for their tournament live. Cincinnati looking pretty good for a bid, but Providence certainly would need to win 2, I think, to get into the dance. And we've talked about Providence a lot this year. They have the talent on the roster. We'll see if they have 2 big wins in them. But if we should advance to Friday, another matchup with Georgetown. And
I can't take it. I don't even want them to win and play by Georgetown again.
Yeah,
almost, they're averaging 42 points a game against them. So, not a favorable matchup, obviously, if they do get to the semis. But I'd look forward to that game. Maybe they can break out.
Redemption. I think
that's what we thought about yesterday too.
Yeah, it's either redemption or we're going to leave the Big East, going 0-3 against Georgetown if they get that far, possibly.
Well, the bottom side of the bracket, you got DePaul and Rutgers playing on Tuesday night to face Notre Dame. And then you got St. John's versus Villanova. Winner of that St. John's-Villanova game plays Louisville. Winner of the Notre Dame-Rutgers-DePaul game plays Marquette. So I just looking to see Pittsburgh in there as a number 4 seed and Syracuse as a 5 seed. If you would have told me that in early January, I never would have thought that would even be possible, but we've imploded, and we've seen it before, and it's quite possible that we're only going to see Michael Carter-Williams play 1, 2, or 3 more games.
Farewell.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then I agree. See you later. If go to the NBA,
I don't know.
Bringing Tyler Ennis,
and maybe the year ending like this will entice him a little bit to come back. He's been there 2 years. I don't know. He's seen. He played on that great team last year. He's had a taste of the success that and seen what Syracuse basketball can be all about. So maybe he'll want to come back and try to not leave on such a sour note. Going out on the big losing streak they got now and just playing the way he's played lately. Maybe he'll want to come back and possibly improve his draft stock and maybe he'll realize he's got some things that he could really work on and be a top 3 or 4 pick next year. If he comes back.
Yeah, he's got to work on some things for sure. You guys looking at this bracket right now, this Big East bracket, who do you got in the semis? You going according to chalk here? Georgetown, Pitt, Louisville, Marquette. You see any upsets?
There's the only upset that I would see that to me has a possibility is Notre Dame over Marquette. I think Notre Dame is a team that can get it together if they're shooting the ball well, and that comes and goes with them. But that's really the only upset. Villanova, I mean they've played well in spurts, and I'm not sure it would completely surprise me if they beat Louisville, but Louisville's a better team. I mean Louisville beat them 4 out of 5 times that they played in neutral court. Yeah,
I like St. John's as a potential sleeper too. Kind of south as their season's gone. They are at Madison Square Garden. They're playing for their lives. And then, Providence or Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a team that's kind of like Syracuse, just taking a turn for the worse late in the season. What are they talking about out in Cincinnati about the Bearcats right about now?
But I think they feel like they're pretty well in the tournament just based on the, body of work, but it's the same situation Syracuse has. They can't score the ball at all, and they've figured out that it's just Kilpatrick launching from deep, and Cashmere Wright's not the same player after he was hurt. Remember, he was out, and then he came back right after the Syracuse game, and he's not the same player, and they've got absolutely no inside presence, probably even less than Syracuse does, and teams are exploiting that. Syracuse and Cincinnati literally are mirror images of one another right now.
I don't think you can have less of an inside presence than Syracuse has, but
that's shocking. But I mean, you got a combination of Sheck Mudge and Arshik for Cincinnati. It's a pretty bad situation there too.
Well, it's kind of depressing, in the Swan Song season for the Big East here for Syracuse to not be so excited right now about the team. I would love to win this Big East tournament, the last one, but I don't think any of us here really think they can, and I don't see why we would.
I'd be happy if they won 2 games and got to play Georgetown Friday night. That would be...
And then that would probably get them a 5 seed in the tournament.
Yeah. Just to build something to build on going to the tournament. Because, this goes south here quickly. They beat South Florida and they, or Seton Hall, and then they, lose to Pittsburgh by 10. They limp into the tournament and they're a 6, and they got that 6-11 game or, whatever. Is that what it would be? What would it be? 6? Yeah, if they were a 6 seed.
Yeah.
6-11. That's not real, that's going to be a tough game for them. So who knows? But, hopefully they can come out. Madison Square Garden, it's a place that Syracuse has played well in the past and made some great runs when they've needed it in the past. So maybe that can ignite them a little bit. But I like Louisville to win the whole thing, the Big East tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgetown.
Yeah, I'm with Jim on that one. I think Georgetown.
But there should be good games. Some of them come down to the last second shots. So anything could happen. I'm going to enjoy it regardless. Make a point to watch both semifinals and finals, even though Syracuse, we're thinking might not be there. But Syracuse does play on ESPN 2 o'clock Wednesday against the winner of South Florida Seton Hall. If they win that, they play 2 o'clock on Thursday on ESPN against Pittsburgh, and then the semis, they'd be in the 7 o'clock game on ESPN. And the finals this year is listed as 8:30 on ESPN. Usually
Saturday night.
Yeah, usually it's on at 9. And basically, if you're watching, Tuesday's games are going to be on ESPNU, and then Wednesday, the morning or afternoon games are on ESPN. The evening games are on ESPN2, and then from there on out, every game's on ESPN. So, what about Villanova, real quick, before we move on?
I think they got to be in.
Yeah, with the Georgetown win. Yeah.
Well, they got wins over what? Georgetown, Syracuse, Louisville, and Marquette.
Yeah.
I mean, geez. I know they got some bad losses like Columbia, but, I don't think anybody can boast, 4 better wins than that,
Yeah, they're 19-12. Nice. I'm sure they can secure it by beating St. John's and getting that 20th win. But what do you think, Brad? They're in Wildcats?
Yeah, I think the quality of their wins offsets the bad losses they have. And, I mean, you look at the last 10, they've got pretty good wins in the last 10. They lost pretty bad to Cincinnati, which I think might hurt them a little bit, and they lost to Seton Hall. But, otherwise, I think they've done, a lot of good things in the last couple weeks. Beat Marquette, beat Georgetown. I mean, those are great wins this stage of the season. So I think they're in.
All right. Well, all gets underway Tuesday. So you guys going to make a point to watch those Tuesday night playing games?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that Rutgers-DePaul game, personally. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, well, I'm going to watch South
That's
Florida.
the biggest thing I'll miss about the Big East is the DePaul Tuesday night battles in the first round.
And, I'm going to watch Seton Hall, South Florida, just scout for Syracuse, But
send it in the Bayheim.
But, Brad, 2 weeks to come up with some trivia. I think you got some real winners tonight, I'm going to predict. So hang tight. We're going to hear from our sponsors. Then when we come back, we're going to hit up some Orange trivia. We're going to give you our picks for the number 1 seeds come next week's Selection Sunday. So hang tight. Attention, Finger Lakes residents. Have you been injured and deserve compensation? Call Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys. Your case deserves personal attention. At Madej, Maris, and Ricky, they know you by name, not just a number on a folder. Call the Finger Lakes Personal Injury Hotline at 315-568-0911. That's 315-568-0911. Madej, Maris, and Ricky, your hometown personal injury attorneys.
The Newark Pilots. See tomorrow's Major League stars today. For more information, go to newarkpilots.com.
The most valuable things are always passed down from generation to generation. It's true for your family, and it's true for our bank. For more than 140 years at Generations Bank, we've greeted you by name, planned with you for the future, and stood by you when you needed a hand. It's what we do, and what we'll continue to do for generations into the future. We might look different now, but in the important ways, we're exactly like we've always been. Stop in your local branch or go to mygenbank.com.
And welcome back to a Sunday night edition of the Upstate Orange Podcast. We're going live Sunday night at 9 from now until Syracuse loses or wins their final game. So, if it's the NIT, I don't know. But no, we're dancing. We're dancing this year. And, again, next Sunday night, 9 o'clock live, just a couple hours after the brackets are announced. We're going to be back here in the FingerLakes1.com studios to talk all about it. We're going to have some special guests. It should be a fun night, fresh off the heels. So before you fill out those office pools on Monday morning, you might want to check it out next Sunday night. But, Brad, in your stead last week, I came up with some trivia. It was focused on some Syracuse centers. I thought it was pretty good discussion that resulted, so no pressure tonight on you. But what do you got?
Enjoyable. I was driving in my car this week to work Friday, listening to that trivia. It had me thinking hard, so that was good stuff.
How do you connect when you're mobile like that?
I download it on iTunes and I listen to it just via the iTunes download.
You know what I do? I use an app called Stitcher, Stitcher.com.
Yeah.
And you can also browse in your web browser on your phone right to the page and play it that way. Or you can go to, you open up your YouTube app and check it out that way with video.
Well, I got a couple of podcast subscriptions, and this is certainly one of them. That's easy for me to do.
Yeah, no, that's the way to make it easiest. But a lot of people, I don't think, realize you can take it with you, these podcasts. Yeah. So, okay, Brad, what do you got?
All right, Big East tournament is the theme this evening, as you might imagine. See if you guys. I don't think we talked about this last year. I know we had Big East tournament trivia last year. Who has the most championships in Big East tournament history?
Oh,
UConn.
I'm gonna say Georgetown.
Mm-hmm. Both of you guys are correct.
Ah,
That's your bets. Well, 7 for each.
7 each.
Georgetown and UConn. Third place is whom?
Syracuse.
Pitt.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right, Burke. I think you're right. I'm going to say Syracuse.
Say Pitt instead of Syracuse, huh?
I'm going
I'm
with
going to say
Pitt.
Syracuse.
You are going to say Syracuse.
Yeah.
All right, you're right, Jim. Syracuse, 5. You know what those years were for Syracuse?
1980.
No.
Or 81. I'm sorry, 81.
Yes, 81.
Yeah. Then they lost in 82.
2006.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
there you
correct.
go.
We all remember that run?
1989.
No, close.
90? No, going back the other way. 88.
Yeah, 88.
Okay, so that's 3 of them. 2 years ago, right? We win it 2 years ago?
No.
Has it been that long? Was 2006 the last time we won this thing?
2006 was the last time. Sir.
Yeah.
Wow, we had some great teams too.
Nuwaku got injured.
Georgetown in the semis, yeah. So we must have picked one up in the 90s. I think we rode Wallace in 96.
Incorrect. Lost in the finals that year. Or in the semi. No, in the finals.
Do you know that John Wallace that year, 96, was the leading scorer for Syracuse in every single postseason game they played? All, like 9 or 10 of them.
Counting the Big East tournament, you're saying?
Yeah, Big East tournament,
Wow.
NCAA tournament. He was the leading scorer every single game.
It's a good stat.
Yep.
They didn't have a lot of great scorers on that team, really.
No, Moten was gone.
Yeah.
How about Moulton never won a Big East tournament?
No.
Oh, there you go.
It's 80.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did? Then in that case, I'm going to say 94.
No, you're just throwing stuff at the wall right
95.
now. 1992.
92.
Moulton's freshman year.
No.
No,
Oh, yeah,
sophomore.
you're right. No.
Wait.
92 was his freshman year.
Freshman, yeah, because he graduated in 95.
They won the Big East tournament that year, huh?
In 92 they did, yeah.
So we got one more?
For the 5. 81, 88, 92, 2006.
Jeez.
You know, that thing is such a fickle thing that Georgetown has 7, we only have 5, or UConn. We lost in overtime to Georgetown in the, Michael Graham punching Andre Hawkins game. That was crap. We should have won that one. We also lost in the finals to St. John's, I think a year later, when Pearl Washington took it coast to coast and got it blocked by Walter Berry at the buzzer. Remember that one?
Yep. That was the finals, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a couple close losses there, really close. Yeah, that was definitely the finals. That was one of the most devastating losses I can remember as a Syracuse fan, is when Pearl got blocked by Berry.
What decade's the last one, Brad?
2000s.
Wow.
Oh, it wasn't 2003.
Nope.
Yeah,
Lost in the semis in 2003 to UConn.
I'm going to say
It's got to be early then. It's got to be
2000 or 2001. Yeah, probably.
I'll give you a hint. They beat West Virginia in the finals.
2002.
05.
05, so they won 05 and 06.
Back to back.
Yeah, geez, that should have been easy.
So let me ask you this. We'll build off of that.
Yeah, that was bad.
Tell me how many back-to-back Big East champions there have been in the history of the tournament.
Pitt did it, all right?
And can you name them?
Pittsburgh.
Did not.
Pittsburgh never did it?
Never did.
Jeez, it seemed like they're in the finals like 5 years in a row.
It was in the finals 7 out of 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
From 2001 to 2008, they were in the finals every single year except for 05.
it's crazy.
That's insane.
It really is.
Yeah, too bad they can never do anything in the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
Well, and then of all those times they were in the finals, they only won it twice.
Yeah.
Syracuse got one back-to-back. UConn's got a back-to-back.
UConn does have back-to-back.
Louisville's got I'm gonna say Louisville's got back-to-back. No, okay. You'd like to
they
think
won it twice, but they were not back-to-back.
Okay. Georgetown never did it. I'm gonna say Georgetown never did it back-to-back. Right?
Georgetown did do it.
They must have been 83 and 84.
Close, 84, 85.
84, 85. And then 86 was the 85. St. John's won it.
86 was the year St. John's beat Syracuse. That was Pearl's last year.
Okay, yeah, you're right. And I'm going to say
85, St. John's won 83.
That's it, though. Three teams.
3 teams are correct. 3 back-to-back winners. The 3 you named. So you said who the top champions were. Who's had the most finals appearances?
Pitt.
No. Pitt had 7 out of 8 straight years were in the finals. That was the only time they ever been in the finals. Just that stretch right there.
Really? I think most final appearances.
Well, it's got to be. I think it's UConn. Well, no. I'm going to say Georgetown. It's one of those two.
I'll say Syracuse.
Oh, you know what? You're right, Burke. It is Syracuse.
Yeah, he is right.
It is.
14 finals appearances.
Wow, we only won 5,
5
huh?
titles.
Bayheim can't win the big one.
5 and 9.
5 and 9, correct. Yeah, not exactly stellar.
No.
Well,
nice to be there, though.
Those semis are are really tough games too. It just seems like it just seems like we.
So none of the
are
years,
right there, but can't get over the top. And with a lot of these,
none of the years that Syracuse went to the Final Four, they won the Big East tournament. So
yeah, let's hope we don't run the table here. I don't know. I don't really think there's any correlation to that. There's so much that can, go either way.
Yeah, the one team that did help with UConn, but I don't remember too many others. When they went on that run with
Kemba Walker
a couple years ago. Yeah, so Syracuse has 14 appearances. Next up, who would you guess?
Georgetown.
I'm going to say UConn.
Georgetown, 13.
Wow.
On third place with 10.
So they could tie us if they make it this year.
Yeah.
For appearances in the final.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because either we're both not making it, so they'll play in the
semis.
semis.
Let's talk about Syracuse and Georgetown. How many times do you think they've played in the Big East tournament in the 33 years of playing the Big East tournament?
I'm going to say 6.
10.
They played at all?
What's that?
How many times they played at all in any of those years? They played a lot more than 6.
Oh, I was going by games I can remember. Yeah, so let's double that. Let's say 12.
13 times.
13. Yeah, there's probably a lot of early round games that I don't.
Who do you think's got the edge in those?
Syracuse.
You're just guessing. So Georgetown, 7-6.
No, I wasn't guessing. I was thinking like with a lot of those were early round games when Georgetown has been down for the last 20 years. Since since
I don't know about 20 years
since Morning left.
Iverson was a pretty good player, if I remember right.
Yeah.
One for 1 year. 2 years? 1 year.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Yeah. He went after his sophomore year. So they're 6 and 7 against Georgetown.
96 was the greatest Big East tournament ever, I thought, when Ray Allen made the game winner there.
It was.
Against Georgetown.
Yep. I just picture him running down the court with his arms raised.
Yep. And he kind of got mixed up on the shot. He always looking to pass, and he throws it up, and it went in.
Yeah. In the finals, who's got more finals victories against each other? How many finals games do you remember Syracuse against Georgetown?
1, 2, 1, 1.
I don't remember any.
I remember 1.
Except, the one.
First time I played in the finals 5 times.
Syracuse, Georgetown played in the finals 5 times?
5 times.
What years?
84.
Last time was
95.
92.
Wow, so they did a lot between 80s and the early 90s. That's why I thought it was so little, because they haven't done it in so long.
Yeah, they've only played they've only played each other in the tournament 4 times since 1992. From 1980 to 1992, out of 13 years, they played 9 times out of those 13 years against one another.
Well, the conference was smaller back then too, so there's a higher chance of playing any team.
What's crazy is in the first 10 years of the Big East tournament, from 1980, which was the first playing of the tournament, until 1989, so the first 10 tournaments, they played 8 out of those 10 years against one another.
That's why the rivalry was so big.
Huge, yeah. I mean, you just almost expected it. So in the finals, they played 5 finals games against one another. The first one was 1980, the first tournament in Big East tournament history. Syracuse and Georgetown met in the finals. Georgetown won. And then Syracuse beat them in 92 with Morning's senior year. And that was the only time Syracuse actually won. Morning ended up being the MVP, but Syracuse won. And Syracuse lost every other finals matchup against them. 87, 89, 84.
So we're 1-4 in the finals against them, huh?
1-4 in the finals against them. In the semis, we're 3-1 against them. In the quarters, they're 2-2.
Well, maybe we can make that 4-1 in the semis.
Well, yeah, and a lot of that is a long time ago. I think that Syracuse, for the last 20 years, has really had the advantage over Georgetown in season. And
yeah, no doubt about it.
Just overall track record. Syracuse has been a top 10 team for the last 4 or 5 years. They've been top 25 team, except for those NIT years.
Yeah, I mean, Georgetown had some low years when
Ettrick
was there, and I think John Thompson III kind of brought him back into prominence. They had that Final Four in 2007, I believe we were talking about last week.
Where they lost to Ohio State.
Yeah. So he's kind of got them back up there. Yeah, but early 2000s they weren't very good. Even late 90s, they had some teams that weren't real good.
Is that anything else?
A couple other quick ones. Can you name the Syracuse players that have been MVP of the Big East tournament in history?
Jerry McNamara.
Akeem Warwick.
That's correct. 05,
Pearl Washington.
No?
Pearl Washington did it in a year we lost.
You said Pearl?
Pearl.
Yeah, Pearl the year in 86 when we lost St. John's.
So we got Pearl, Warwick, and
McNamara.
What about Moten his freshman year?
No, Lawrence Moten was never tournament MVP.
John Wallace.
He wasn't on that team.
Because they never won.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So when
but they had to be a winner necessarily, because Pearl was the MVP in a loss.
How about
one other guy you're missing was the MVP in a loss?
Johnny Flynn, maybe.
Johnny Flynn is correct.
Yeah. Wow, nice call.
Mostly because of the 6 overtime game.
And then they went into overtime against West Virginia the next night.
West Virginia next day, right?
And
he played great in the finals against Louisville that same year.
Yep.
Was it somebody from the 81 when we won in 81 then?
Leo Routens? No.
Leo Routens is correct.
Is it?
He won.
Wow. I know he had the big tip in, but I didn't know that it was he was tournament MVP.
Double in that game, if I remember right. Well, triple overtime, so he had enough minutes to do so.
Yeah.
And is that it?
No, one more.
Derek Coleman.
Incorrect.
Billy Owens.
You're thinking the right.
Sherman Douglas.
Sherman Douglas, 1988.
Okay.
Yep. So six tournament MVPs. You got all of them. The one time Syracuse won a tournament and they didn't have the MVP was 92 when I mentioned before, Morning was the MVP.
Huh. Yeah, good trivia. One more, you said?
I got one more.
Okay.
In the 33 years, there have been 30 players that have been all-tournament team from Syracuse in the Big East tournament. There's been 2 of those guys were all-tournament team 3 years. Can you name those guys?
All-tournament team 3 years. Jerry McNamara.
No. He was only twice.
Pearl, all 3 years.
No. He was all-tournament in his freshman year and his junior year, but not his sophomore year.
Wow. Well, let's start throwing out some more names. How about Moten?
No, twice.
Wow. Then Wallace.
No, Wallace only once in 96.
Jeez.
Sherman Douglas.
Yeah, there's a good one.
Douglas is one. He
Bill-
was MVP 87, 88, and 89.
Billy Owens.
But all tournament, I mean.
Billy Owens.
No, Billy Owens was never all-tournament team in the Big East tournament.
Wow.
Akeem Warwick.
Warwick, no. He was only all-tournament 1 year, 05.
So there's 3 guys, and we only got one of them so far.
No, 2 guys. You got one of them.
Oh, the other one's, no, I was going to say Flynn, but that's
There's one other.
could possibly be Devendorf, but I don't think he did it his freshman year.
No, he only got it once in 09.
Not like Leo Routins.
No, he only played
Leo
2
Routins.
years at Syracuse.
I got it.
He played 3 years?
81, 82, and 83. So when he was MVP in 81, he was a sophomore because he transferred in
From Minnesota.
freshman year at Syracuse and then sat the year, and then 81 was his first year, and he did it the next 2 years.
Okay, huh. There you go.
Yeah. A couple of guys that have it twice. You mentioned Pearl. Ronnie Cycli was twice on the all-tournament team, 86 and 87. Stevie Thompson was MVP or is all-tournament in 88 and 90, but not in 89. You mentioned Moten. You mentioned McNamara. And then all sorts of guys. 30 guys in total were all-tournament. Daryl Watkins was all-tournament one year in 06.
Somebody must have made a mistake.
He and Demetrius Nichols both, along with McNamara.
I got nothing bad to say about
no.
Nichols. I got nothing bad to say about Demetrius Nichols.
There's some others, a couple of surprising names on here. Marty Head was on the all-tournament team in the first year of the tournament, 1980. Tony Red Bruin in 81, Andre Hawkins in 84, probably out of sympathy because he got punched in the middle of the overtime game. Beth Addison. Derek Coleman only once all-tournament team.
Surprising because he's dominant.
Yeah.
Yep. Todd Bergen, Ryan Blackwell. Carmelo was all-tournament in the year he was there. Josh Pace got it in 05.
Good for him.
Yeah. But, Dion was last year. So we've had all-tournament last 4 years running. No, that's not true. 2010 we didn't. But, yeah, so Tony Red Bruin, 81. Eric Sandifer, 81. Pretty good list.
Well, Brad, you delivered with some fine trivia. We'll know all the answers to the tournament trivia they flash up while we're watching the Big East tournament this week. But as I mentioned a couple times this show, next Sunday night, 9 o'clock, live FingerLakes1.com studio, Selection Sunday special. It'll be next week's episode of the Upstate Orange podcast, but we're going to be talking all about the tournament. We're going to talk about Syracuse's draw, Syracuse's opponent. We're going to be talking about what teams got snubbed, the matchups for the Big East teams. We'll see. How's William & Mary doing in the conference tournament, Virk?
They got beat last night.
Already? It's over? The dream's over already?
Dream's over. At one point, they're up 6 in the second half, and that lead quickly disappeared, and they lost to James Madison. So the streak continues for William & Mary of no tournament. So. And
Brad, the Richmond Spiders.
I read they're not doing the Colonial at the Richmond Coliseum after this year.
Oh, really? No. Where are they going to do it?
I don't remember because VCU and Richmond are both out of it, so
right.
It's less relevant to have it in Richmond. But
it seems like it'd be better to do it there then. Nobody has the home court advantage.
True. It was never fair for you guys to have to go up against VCU or Richmond.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So the Spiders need to win the A10 tournament, huh, Brad, to get in?
Pretty much 18 and 13. That's not looking great. They're I don't know what their seed is. They're somewhere 9 or 10.
They're going to the NIT though.
They could have a chance at the NIT. Yeah, if they win a game or two in the A10, they could have a chance at the NIT. If not the CBI, which we're all pretty excited about too.
And your other alma mater, Wake Forest Demon Deacons, need to win the ACC
tournament. Win against
tournament.
Virginia Tech today, but no, they're not going to go.
How nice is a win ever against Virginia Tech, though? I mean, it's nice to beat stupid Virginia Tech, but
agreed.
But how nice of a resume builder is that?
Not much.
It's funny. We were talking about Virginia Tech early in the season. They do it every year like that. They win a couple of games early, and we all think, hey, maybe they'll actually have something, and they're just awful every year.
Yeah, I guess you take Seth Greenberg out of the equation, and nothing really changes.
They were worse this year than typically they've been, really.
We'll see.
It changes it. I can't watch the studio show anymore because I just can't stand the guy.
I don't mind him so much now that he's not coaching there. I mean, but I guess we'll see if this new coach complains on Selection Sunday night when Virginia Tech gets the snub. All right, it wouldn't be a snub.
No.
Not at 13 and 18, it wouldn't.
No. Well, guys, normally we give our top 5 power rankings towards the end of the show where we it's been kind of stupid to do this year because there's really 15, but now we can take a look and see who's got the inside track on the number 1 seeds. And so it's too bad because I made my top 5 power rankings before we decided to go this route, and I had New Mexico in at number 5. I was really excited to drop.
They lost last night, though, right?
They lost to Air Force last night.
They lost Air Force by 1, and it doesn't affect my my putting them in there at all. At 89-88, they lost to Air Force.
Yeah.
But Steve Alford's, has won the Mountain West championship again. And they're 26-5.
That's an accomplishment, seriously.
And they won. They had some nice road wins too, including Cincinnati.
Yeah. So we're gonna do our 4 number 1 seeds, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Let's kick it over to Brad and see who he's got first.
I've got Gonzaga. It's hard to think that won't be them. I watched some of their game last night. It was close in the first half. They pulled away. They're assuming they don't stub their toe, it would be hard to fathom them not being a number 1 seed.
If they lose anywhere in their conference tournament, are they not a number 1 seed?
I think if they lose in their conference tournament, they will not be a number 1 seed because I think that'll put enough doubt in people's heads that hey, they don't play a good schedule and they're 29-3, and that's not it's not.
I
the same
still
as,
think the committee gives it to them. They'll be 30-something-3.
Yeah, you wonder how they'll evaluate that schedule against teams that play in the Big Ten or Big East or Big 12. But I'd like to see it for their sake. I'd like to see it for the sake of all the quote unquote mid majors. I think it would be a travesty if they didn't get it, even if they lost. But as it is now, I think Gonzaga's a 1 seed. Indiana, I don't think there's any question there. Even if they lose in their conference tournament, I still think they've got enough really good wins. Obviously, beat Michigan today, even though Michigan just absolutely choked it away in the last 30 seconds of that game. Indiana should get that. Whoever wins the ACC tournament, regrettably, I think it's probably going to be Duke. But it would be hard to think that Duke wouldn't get it at this point. They took part in North Carolina at the Dean Dome pretty good.
Let's say Miami plays Duke in the ACC tournament final, and Miami wins. Is Miami and Duke both the number 1 seed?
No, I don't think that's possible. I think they would give it to Miami.
Right. And
fourth, I'd say Georgetown. Even if Georgetown, if Louisville beats Georgetown in the finals,
Louisville has a shot.
I could see Louisville making a case.
Right.
They really just had 1 loss in the last month, and that was that 5 overtime game. So I think Louisville can make a case.
Real quick question, Brad. If Indiana loses in the Big Ten tournament early, let's say they lose their opening round game, they drop off the number 1 line?
No, body work. I'd say no. I think they're still number 1. I mean, think of all.
They could be the first number 1 seed with 6 losses.
Last 3 weeks in the top 10.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah, I don't think you'd fall that far. They're going to be a solid 2, especially after their win today. I don't see them falling down to 5th by losing 1 game.
So you got Gonzaga, Georgetown, Duke, or unless Miami should upset them in Indiana. And possibly Louisville is a sleeper.
Louisville if they beat Georgetown in the finals.
Okay, fair enough. How about you, Verk? Pretty similar?
I think there's 3 locks. I think Gonzaga's a lock. I think they still get the number 1 even if they lose in their conference tournament, which I don't expect them to do. I think Indiana's a lock. I think Duke's a lock. The other one, I think Kansas is going to get the other. If Kansas, obviously depends on the tournaments coming up. But I think if Kansas wins their tournament, the Big 12 tournament, they're getting that number 1 seed. I think if Kansas loses, then Louisville and Georgetown have a shot there. Be interesting. I think if Miami, we were talking about if Miami beats Duke in the ACC, I think they both get number 1 seed. You look at Duke's total.
That'd be tough though.
You look at Duke's body of work though. They haven't lost with Kelly. They got big wins over Ohio State. They had a great non-conference.
But how could
schedule.
they take 2 ACC teams as number 1 seeds when you got the Big 10 been as tough as it is? The Big 12 has been tough. ACC's down.
Well, in the Big 10 has those teams have a lot of losses now. Who are you going to put in there? Michigan's got 6 losses. I don't know. I think it's hard to keep Duke out of that number 1 line if they make it to the ACC final where they lose to a Miami team.
Will they let them play in Greensboro?
Let's hope not.
So that's your 4.
Yep.
I got Gonzaga, Georgetown, Duke, and in Indiana as well. And I think that if Georgetown wins the Big East tournament, that they're number one seed hands down. They'd be heading in at 27-5 with a great resume. If Louisville beats Georgetown or wins the Big East tournament themselves, they would be in there at like 29-5 with some great wins. So I see Georgetown or Louisville, and I agree Duke or Miami. I think if Miami beats Duke again, it would be tough for the committee to not allow the ACC regular season and tournament champion to have that number one seed over Duke, and I don't see them putting in two from the ACC. What's your thought on that, Brad?
The ACC has two ranked teams. So from a strength of schedule standpoint, winning the ACC doesn't start to the same as even coming in second or third in the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan has as strong a case, I think, as the second place team in the ACC, just because the second place team in the ACC hasn't beaten anybody in 2-3 months.
Yeah, well,
garbage league. It's top heavy every year.
It is.
They've just taken Miami and replaced North Carolina with Miami.
Don't forget. I mean,
that's true.
Duke's got wins over VCU, Louisville, Ohio State, Kentucky. I mean,
Louisville was without Dang.
Kentucky's not that great of a win.
Temple, not great a win, but VC. I mean, those are all pretty much tournament teams. They killed.
How many of them on the road?
They killed Minnesota.
How many of those wins came on the road?
Most of them are neutral site games.
So that's got to count too. Of course, Duke doesn't have a loss to Florida Gulf Coast on the resume like Miami does.
True.
But Miami beat them by 30.
Without Kelly.
Don't discredit that. No, Kelly, was he? Yeah.
They haven't lost with Kelly.
You're in the player of the year in the country. He's that much of a difference maker.
He must be.
Well, a week from now, we're going to know. We're going to have the number one seeds. We're going to have the 2 seeds. And we're going to have the 15 seeds and the 16 seeds. We're going to have all the matchups. And we're going to be back here. I can't say exactly who's going to be here because we've extended the invite to quite a few people. We might even have to, break out a couple more cameras and microphones in here. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's the best time of the year. A little bit tainted with the play of Syracuse. A little less excited than I'd hope I'd be. But you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe we'll be coming off a Big East championship and we'll be pumped for the tournament coming up.
The switch will flick and Trish will start scoring in the 20. I think on a parting shot, Trish or Sutherland, if one of those two guys a game can score 18 points, I think Syracuse is going to win. But there's a good chance that both of them won't. In a stretch of 6 tournament games, there's a better chance that both of them won't than they will. But that's why they play the games, fellas. Thanks again for joining us, everybody, on the Upstate Orange podcast. Remember to subscribe to our feed on iTunes. Listen to your car like Brad. Stitcher, YouTube, or RSS. You can find us on Facebook by searching Upstate Hoops and on Twitter @HoopsPod. For my co-hosts, Brad Connor and Matt Verkey. Our producer, Jeremy Hunt. I'm Jim Sinacropi. We'll see you back here on Selection Sunday.